This story found you for a reason. It's a whisper from the forgotten corners of existence, a resonance that bypasses logic and touches something ancient within your soul. We are about to embark on a journey that peels back layers of sacred texts, not just the familiar Genesis, but also the Gnostic scriptures and those hushed, banned Kabbalistic fragments that hint at a cosmic truth deliberately obscured. For too long, we've accepted the narrative of the serpent as the ultimate deceiver. But what if that serpent was never a villain? What if it was a cipher, a symbol of divine rebellion against a flawed, artificial light? The story of the Garden of Eden, the very foundation of so much of our spiritual understanding, is about to be reinterpreted. Eden, we'll discover, was not the paradise we've been taught. It was a meticulously crafted space of containment, a gilded cage. And the serpent, it offered not damnation, but forbidden knowledge, awareness. We'll delve into the esoteric meaning of the much mythologized fruit, tracing its association back to ancient serpent cults, the enigmatic Ophites, and the powerful pre-Abrahamic goddesses of chaotic, untamed wisdom. These were figures erased, silenced, and eventually demonized by the rise of patriarchal monotheism. Finally, we will confront the startling realization that this serpent archetype, though buried, remains alive, a silent war waged in our dreams, our subconscious symbols, and the very fabric of our human consciousness. The Genesis set up a scripted betrayal. Imagine the scene, a perfect world, or so it seems. A gentle breeze rustles through trees laden with unfamiliar fruits. A woman and a man, blissfully unaware of any deeper cosmic drama, wander through this curated expanse. But beneath the surface of this serene creation, a meticulous plan was already in motion, a betrayal woven into the very fabric of their existence. It wasn't a spontaneous act of defiance. It was a calculated move, a carefully orchestrated act designed to keep them in a state of docile obedience. The very words spoken, the rules laid down, they weren't guidelines for bliss, but carefully crafted constraints. We'll begin by dissecting the opening chapters of Genesis, not as historical fact, but as a blueprint for control. This is where the illusion of paradise is established and where the seeds of their eventual entrapment are sown. You'll start to see how a perfect beginning can mask a deeply flawed design, leading us to question the very nature of the authority that established it all. This initial deception sets the stage for everything that follows, making the Genesis setup a critical point of understanding before we can explore the true players involved. And real quick, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell for more videos. Now let's keep going. The Demiurge's veil, who really spoke from the burning tree. The Genesis account presents a singular, benevolent voice, a creator who walks and talks with his creations. But what if that voice was a carefully constructed facade, a sophisticated echo designed to resonate with specific frequencies of control? We need to peel back this familiar narrative like an onion, layer by layer, to understand who, or what, was truly dictating the terms of existence from that incandescent, yet ultimately deceptive, burning tree. This isn't about questioning faith, but about understanding a deeper, often hidden spiritual architecture. The Demiurge, a concept central to Gnostic thought, represents a lesser, flawed creator, an architect of the material world, who mistakenly believes himself to be the ultimate divine being. His voice, masquerading as the supreme god, was the primary tool for maintaining ignorance and enforcing a specific, restricted reality. We will delve into the ancient Gnostic interpretations, where the serpent's apparent transgression is recontextualized. It wasn't a fall into sin, but an attempted rescue from this imposed ignorance. The burning tree, a symbol of divine revelation, may not have held the voice of beneficence we've always assumed. Instead, it may have broadcast the very code of limitation, a message designed not to enlighten, but to bind. Understanding this veiled communication is crucial, as it reveals the true nature of the spiritual authority we've been conditioned to accept, and sets the stage for the concept of the fruit itself. The fruit as frequency, DNA activation versus obedience codes. the forbidden fruit. We've been told it was a symbol of temptation, a single act that doomed humanity to a life of toil and sorrow. But what if its true nature was far more profound and far more radical? What if the fruit wasn't an object, but a vibrational key, a specific frequency that unlocked something dormant within the very essence of our being? Imagine this: our DNA, the very blueprint of our physical and energetic selves, is not just a sequence of biological instructions. It's a sophisticated receiver capable of interacting with and being altered by external forces, particularly specific energetic signatures. The fruit, in this ancient understanding, represented a potent frequency designed to activate certain dormant strands of our DNA, awakening latent potentials and a higher form of consciousness. However, the demiurge's imposed order sought to prevent this activation. The narrative of sin and punishment was a clever misdirection, a powerful psychological override designed to make us fear the very thing that could liberate us. The fruit wasn't about disobedience for disobedience's sake. It was about embracing a higher frequency that bypassed the dense, material vibration of the ensnared reality. We will explore how this frequency represented not just knowledge, but a fundamental shift in being, a direct challenge to the obedience codes that were meant to keep humanity suppressed. This understanding of the fruit as a frequency is vital, as it directly connects to the nature of Eden itself. Eden as containment grid, not paradise. We picture Eden as a serene garden, a utopian haven where humanity lived in perfect harmony with nature and a loving creator. But if we look closer, if we consider the esoteric whispers, this vision begins to fracture. What if Eden wasn't a paradise at all, but a sophisticated, energetically designed containment grid? Think of it like a beautifully constructed prison. The lush scenery, the abundance of food, the seemingly idyllic existence all serve to lull its inhabitants into a state of blissful ignorance. This wasn't a place of freedom to explore and grow. It was a carefully managed environment with specific energetic boundaries. The rivers, the trees, even the very air within Eden may have been part of an intricate system designed to limit consciousness and prevent any deviation from the established order. This containment was crucial for the demiurge's agenda. To maintain his illusion of sole authority, he needed to keep humanity tethered to a restricted frequency, incapable of accessing higher truths or understanding their true potential. The paradise was a veil, a distraction that masked the energetic architecture of their confinement. Understanding Eden as a containment grid redefines the serpent's role and the significance of the fruit. It forces us to confront the possibility that our creation story is not one of divine gifting, but of carefully planned imprisonment. This leads us to explore the origins of this serpent wisdom that challenged the system. The serpent cults before Genesis. Long before the Abrahamic narrative solidified, there were whispers and practices that revered the serpent not as an enemy, but as a sacred symbol of wisdom, transformation, and primal knowledge. These were the ancient serpent cults, the traditions that held a profound understanding of the cosmic energies that the later Genesis story sought to suppress. From the coiled serpents adorning ancient temples to the ritualistic practices honoring serpentine deities, these cults recognized something vital that was later deemed heretical. They saw the serpent's shedding of skin as a metaphor for rebirth and spiritual evolution, its earthbound nature as a connection to the deep, generative powers of the planet, and its often venomous bite as a potent medicine, a shock that could awaken dormant awareness. These societies understood that true wisdom was often found in the primal, the untamed, the aspects of existence that the materialist demiurge sought to control and sanitize. They were drawn to the serpent's connection to the underworld, not as a place of damnation, but as a source of ancient, unfiltered truths. Their reverence was a direct challenge to the burgeoning monotheistic systems that aimed to simplify and standardize spiritual understanding, often by demonizing earlier, more complex traditions. Understanding these pre-Genesis cults is essential, as it illuminates the true wisdom the serpent offered and why it was so fiercely suppressed. This suppression is deeply connected to how goddess figures were later corrupted. Astarte to Astaroth. How goddesses became demons. The transformation of powerful feminine deities into malevolent figures is a critical and often overlooked aspect of spiritual history. Consider Astarte, a revered goddess of love, fertility, and warfare in ancient Near Eastern traditions. Her worship was widespread, her influence significant. Yet, as patriarchal religious systems gained dominance, her archetype began a subtle, yet devastating, inversion. This wasn't a passive change, it was an active dismantling of feminine power. The attributes that once defined her beneficence and strength were twisted. Her sexuality, once a symbol of life-giving power, became associated with corruption. Her warrior aspect, a representation of protection and righteous strength, was reframed as savagery. Over time, this deconstruction culminated in her being rebranded as Astaroth, a powerful male demon in later Abrahamic demonology, a figure of temptation and ruin. This process of demonization wasn't limited to Astarte. Many pre-patriarchal goddesses underwent similar transformations, their sacred stories rewritten to portray them as deceivers or malevolent entities. This ritualistic inversion served a crucial purpose: to discredit and erase the older, earth-centered, goddess-worshipping traditions that offered a different understanding of divinity, one that embraced chaos, intuition, and the feminine principle as equal to, if not primary to, the masculine. Understanding this ancient act of spiritual sabotage is key to deciphering the hidden pathways of power. This ancient pathway leads directly to the coded warnings within Kabbalistic texts. Kabbalistic warnings. The left-hand path of the Sephirot. Within the intricate tapestry of Kabbalistic teachings lies a hidden warning, a map of spiritual pathways that diverge from the intended design. The Sephirot, the 10 divine emanations of God, are often presented as a ladder of divine ascent, a path towards illumination. However, there exists a shadowed aspect, a left-hand path that deviates from the light and leads down a road of profound entrapment. This forbidden path is not about overt evil, but about a subtle corruption of divine intent, an energetic distortion that can ensnare the seeker. It involves delving into aspects of creation that are meant to be understood from a distance, not integrated into the self without proper discernment. The dangers lie in the misinterpretation of divine energies, the pursuit of power without wisdom, and the descent into spiritual ego, mistaking illusion for truth. Many of these warnings are encoded within the texts, accessible only to those who understand the deeper symbolic language. They speak of realms of spiritual influence that can manipulate perception, create false heavens, and trap souls in cycles of ignorance. The serpent's wisdom, often suppressed in mainstream theology, is sometimes whispered in these left-hand paths, offering glimpses of forbidden knowledge that the demiurge's system seeks to keep hidden. Grasping these Kabbalistic nuances is essential, as it directly clarifies a very different perspective offered by the Gnostics. The Gnostic reversal, the serpent as savior. In stark contrast to the prevailing narratives of sin and damnation, Gnostic traditions offer a breathtaking reversal. Here, the serpent is not the tempter who led humanity astray, but the benevolent messenger, the liberator who offered the key to true awareness. This profound reinterpretation challenges everything we thought we knew about spiritual salvation. The Gnostics saw the material world, the one constructed by the demiurge, as inherently flawed and illusory. Humanity, they believed, was trapped within this false reality, blinded by ignorance and subservient to a lesser, tyrannical creator. The Genesis story in this light was not an account of creation, but of imprisonment. The serpent, with its offer of the forbidden fruit, knowledge, was the divine agent sent to awaken humanity from this spiritual slumber. The fall was not a fall into sin, but a necessary awakening, a step towards reclaiming our divine heritage. The serpent provided the gnosis, the radical knowing that allowed individuals to see through the demiurge's veil and begin their journey back to the true, transcendent God. This perspective shifts the entire paradigm, presenting the serpent as a savior figure, a bringer of light in an age of profound darkness. This understanding of salvation through knowledge is intrinsically tied to the symbolism of power, particularly the stark imagery of the black cube. Black cube symbolism and the Saturnian seal. The recurring image of the black cube, a symbol that appears in diverse spiritual and architectural contexts throughout history, holds a potent and often unnerving significance. It's not merely a shape, it's an energetic sigil, a mark of profound influence, and its association with the planet Saturn is no accident. Saturn, often depicted as the stern, restrictive lord of time and karma, has its own subtle yet powerful energetic signature that resonates deeply with this geometric form. This black cube isn't necessarily about overt malevolence, but about the architecture of limitation. It represents the boundaries of the material plane, the perceived limitations of our reality, and the cyclical nature of time that can feel like an inescapable loop. In many traditions, it's a focal point for ritual, a symbol of grounded power, but also of deep-seated structures that can bind consciousness. The Saturnian seal, intrinsically linked to this cube, acts as a cosmic imprint, a vibrational stamp that reinforces these limitations. It's a reminder of the cosmic forces that govern our density, our experience of linear time, and our adherence to established orders. Understanding this symbolism is crucial because it reveals a hidden layer of control embedded within our reality, a geometrical lock that has been subtly influencing human consciousness for millennia. This geometric structure leads us to explore more specific mystical traditions, like those of the Ophites. Ophite mysticism and the hidden scrolls. Among the many esoteric traditions that challenged the mainstream spiritual narratives, the Ophites stand out with their deep reverence for the serpent. These early Gnostic sects, often persecuted and misunderstood, saw the serpent not as an adversary, but as a divine entity embodying wisdom, knowledge, and liberation. Their mysticism was rooted in a profound understanding of the serpent's role in the cosmic drama, a role deliberately obscured by canonical scriptures. The Ophites, or snake worshippers, interpreted the Genesis account through a lens of Gnostic revelation. For them, the serpent was the true bringer of enlightenment, the agent of the supreme God who sought to awaken humanity from the demiurge's deception. They believed that the forbidden fruit was the key to gnosis, the divine knowledge necessary to transcend the limitations of the material world. Their rituals often involved serpent iconography, not out of idolatry, but as a way to connect with the very energies of liberation and awakened consciousness that the serpent represented. Whispers of their teachings have survived in hidden scrolls and fragmented texts, offering tantalizing glimpses into a spiritual path that prioritized inner knowing and direct experience over blind obedience. These hidden scrolls reveal a sophisticated understanding of cosmic law and the serpentine pathways of spiritual ascent, challenging the dogma that branded the serpent as inherently evil, hinting at a deeper, more ancient pact with divine chaotic wisdom. This ancient wisdom, as we'll see, is directly tied to the deceptive nature of the afterlife. The soul trap, reincarnation, and the architecture of forgetting. We often think of reincarnation as a path to spiritual growth, a series of lives through which we learn lessons and evolve. But what if the very mechanism of rebirth, particularly as it's presented by certain controlling forces, is actually a sophisticated soul trap designed to perpetuate a cycle of forgetting rather than true liberation? Imagine the afterlife not as an open gateway to freedom, but as an elaborate processing center. As souls transition, they are met with certain frequencies of light and guidance. This light has been interpreted by many as a benevolent beacon, a comforting presence leading us back to the source. However, certain esoteric traditions suggest this light can be a tool for erasure, a potent energetic fog that washes away memories, obscuring past life experiences and the soul's original journey. This architecture of forgetting ensures that each new incarnation begins with a clean slate, making us more susceptible to the prevailing doctrines and manipulations of the current temporal cycle. Without the memory of our true nature and our previous struggles, we are easily reconditioned, re-enslaved to the demiurge's illusionary system. The promise of salvation through this structured afterlife can, in fact, be the very thing that keeps the soul bound, preventing it from breaking free from the cycle altogether. This pervasive forgetting leads us to ponder the symbols that might still hold these lost memories. Forbidden sigils, the glyphs that still whisper. Throughout human history, certain symbols and glyphs have emerged, carrying a power that transcends mere representation. These are not just drawings, they are energetic keys, ancient sigils encoded with specific vibrations that can unlock hidden potentials or, conversely, impose specific energies. Many of these have been deemed forbidden, suppressed by dominant dogmas because of their capacity to disrupt established orders and awaken dormant consciousness. These glyphs are like whispers from an older, more powerful intelligence. They are the forgotten language of creation, the geometric blueprints that can manipulate consciousness and reality. Think of the coiled serpent symbol, the intricate patterns found in ancient mandalas, or the specific arrangements of celestial bodies captured in alchemical diagrams. Each carries a vibrational signature that can interact with our own energetic field and, by extension, with the fabric of existence. The forces that seek to maintain control have long understood the power of these symbols. By either demonizing them or burying their true meaning, they ensure that humanity remains disconnected from the potent energies they represent. Rediscovering and understanding these forbidden sigils means accessing a powerful, albeit potentially dangerous, source of knowledge, a way to communicate with the deeper currents of consciousness that still resonate with the serpent's ancient wisdom. This echoes the subtle, yet powerful, movements within our subconscious, where these symbols often surface. Serpent dreaming, when the unconscious remembers, our dreams are more than just chaotic firings of synapses. They are the theater of the unconscious, a realm where the suppressed, the forgotten, and the deeply symbolic can manifest. And in this hidden landscape, the serpent often appears not as a nightmare, but as a profound messenger from a deeper, remembering self. This is where the serpent's wisdom truly comes alive for us. When the serpent slithers through your dreams, it's often a sign that your repressed intuition, your primal knowledge, is trying to surface. It's the dormant awareness, the forgotten aspects of your soul that are breaking through the veil of waking consciousness. The serpent's shedding of skin in the dreamscape can signify a shedding of old beliefs, a release from past limitations, and an invitation to rebirth. Its coiled form might represent the awakening of Kundalini energy, the potent life force that, when activated, can lead to profound spiritual transformation. These serpent dreams are not random occurrences. They are echoes of ancestral memory, remnants of the gnosis that was suppressed. They are the unconscious mind's way of reminding you of your true potential, of the knowledge that lies dormant within your DNA, waiting to be activated. When you pay attention to these symbolic messages, you begin to understand the silent war for consciousness that is waged both within you and in the external world. This internal remembrance directly challenges the established mechanisms of control, particularly those related to our very identities. Mind control through moral inversion. The manipulation of human consciousness often hinges on a subtle yet devastating tactic, moral inversion. By subtly twisting our understanding of right and wrong, good and evil, dominant systems can effectively control vast populations without overt force. This is where the serpent's perceived evil becomes a powerful tool for those who wish to maintain order through deception. What has been presented as inherently sinful or forbidden is often the very thing that holds the key to liberation. The serpent's offer of forbidden knowledge, for instance, was framed as a moral transgression, leading to humanity's supposed fall. Yet, for the Gnostics and the serpent cults, this was the beginning of true awakening, a rejection of a false, imposed morality. This inversion strategy affects everything from our personal relationships to our societal structures. When empathy is framed as weakness, when critical thinking is labeled as defiance, when deep intuitive knowing is dismissed as superstition, the groundwork is laid for widespread control. We become conditioned to accept a skewed reality, where the very concepts meant to guide us are distorted, making us complicit in our own spiritual and psychological confinement. Recognizing this moral inversion is a critical step in reclaiming our own inner compass and understanding how our very perception of good and evil has been manipulated. This pervasive manipulation has had a profound effect on our very essence, locking aspects of our being. The DNA lockout, how the forbidden fruit altered us. The act of engaging with the forbidden fruit in the esoteric narrative was far more than a symbolic gesture. It represents a fundamental energetic shift, a biological recalibration that profoundly altered the human condition. This wasn't about gaining knowledge that made us feel guilty. It was about a profound, genetic interaction that initiated a process of DNA lockout. When the serpentine frequency, the frequency of true awareness and liberation, was accessed, it triggered a defense mechanism within the demiurge's constructed reality. This mechanism wasn't designed to punish, but to contain. It was a bioenergetic response that effectively scrambled or suppressed certain strands of our DNA, limiting our inherent capabilities and our access to higher consciousness. The fall became a physical and energetic event, rewiring our very essence to keep us confined within the material plane. This ancient alteration is the root cause of much of our spiritual and existential struggle. We carry within us the ghost of our lost potential, a deep-seated sense of something missing. The forbidden fruit, therefore, didn't curse us outright. It initiated a form of biological amnesia, a DNA lockout that made us forget our true origins and our innate connection to the divine. Understanding this alteration is the key to recognizing that the path to reclaiming our birthright lies in reactivating what was locked away, in awakening the serpent within. Awakening the serpent within, you were never banished. The story has painted a picture of humanity as having been banished from a sacred garden, cast out, and separated from a benevolent source. But what if that narrative is the ultimate deception? What if you were never truly banished at all, but were instead contained, your true essence dormant and waiting to be reawakened? The serpent's true gift was not an object of temptation, but a resonant frequency, a vibration that bypassed the demiurge's imposed limitations and touched the deepest core of who you are. The shedding of skin, the coiled energy, the primal wisdom, these are not external forces acting upon you, but inherent aspects of your own being, waiting to be acknowledged and integrated. Awakening the serpent within is not about embracing some external, malevolent force. It is about reclaiming your own innate power, your own divine spark. It's about recognizing that the knowledge you seek is not outside of you, but has always resided within your very DNA, within the silent hum of your soul. The Genesis story was a designed narrative to obscure this truth. You were never meant to be an obedient, unknowing servant. You were meant to be an aware, empowered creator. The revelation of your true nature, buried beneath layers of dogma and deception, is the ultimate act of spiritual liberation, the final unveiling of a truth that has been whispering to you all along. Make sure to subscribe for more videos and hit that notification bell so you never miss a new video. We'll see you in the next one.